Hi everyone. In this video, we will discuss about how to create environment setup and CI/CD pipelines for Angular and .NET Core Web API project. So, if you are building Angular and .NET Core Web API separately, it's fine. You have to build it. You have to build the Angular project as well as .NET Core Web API project separately. Now, to configure your environments, why you need environments? As I said in earlier videos, you need dev, SIT, or prod pipelines in large scale applications and mostly in enterprise level applications because you really don't need to, you really don't want to write some code which will deploy it in the production and it will create some bug issues before it got tested, right? Now, when dealing with the small scale based applications, Visual Studio is providing us the flexibility to go for Angular .NET Core Web API template. So it creates a sample template, sample boilerplate template for you, and from that you can create your entire project from that template, right? But 2 weeks before when I was trying this, I found some issues. So what was happening is when I was trying to build the project, the environment, if I am working in the dev environment, dev branches, it was not pointing to the development branch, it was pointing to the production branch. So I tried to dig into it, how to do those stuffs, but I found very little resources with respect to the boilerplate code they have provided, Visual Studio have provided, because you need to do some tweaks and tricks to make it possible. So we will discuss all these things in this video. S- So the agenda of the topic we will be covering is we will create the Angular .NET Core applications by using Visual Studio template. Then we will create the dev and SIT UAT pipelines environments. Then we will go for the environment files in Angular as well as .NET Core Web API. Then we will try to build the Angular and .NET Core Web API separately. Then we will go for .cs project. If you are coming from the Microsoft Stack background, you must have known that what .cs project means. This actually has the code which will do some tasks before building or after building the processes, right? Then after that, we will go for the CI/CD for multiple environments. Okay, so if you can see here, I've already created one project over here, so that is sample YouTube project in my Azure DevOps, and I have just if you can see, this one is the YouTube sample Angular.NET Core project. I have already set this up and I have already created three branches: dev, master, and SIT. Dev will be pointing to dev branches, SIT will be pointing to SIT branch, and master will be pointing to the production branch. So why I have created is if I will show this thing entirely from scratch, it will take little bit time to make sure that Visual Studio will work properly and all. So I have already created it. We will go from here. Okay, I will just show you how to create those things. You can go to here, new project. Okay, inside that you can select ASP.NET Core project. Okay, let me just show you. You can just select this ASP.NET Core application. You can go to next. You can just give your name. Then if you will type create, it will give you some template from which you will select whether you can go for Angular or you can go for React.js or you can go for React with Redux based applications. I will not go for now because I have already created it. Okay, so you can see this application. So if I will just remove all this folder to show you what exactly this application has. This is a Angular based .NET Core Web API applications. So you can see there are controllers, there are pages, and there are app settings.jsons and app settings.development.json. Right now, first we will go one by one. We will focus how to create the environment file in Angular project. Okay, so if you can see this client app is actually considers all the consisting all the Angular label files. So I will just open these things in my Visual Studio Code so that I can write the UI code effectively. Okay, so now we can go one by one. Okay, just give me 1 minute. So you can see that how the Angular project works. If somebody knows, he will able to see that there is package.json file. So if I will show you, you can see that there is ng build command, there is ng serve command, okay, which is actually going for the npm start. Okay, now if you can see, there is one folder sections over here, environments. Okay, it has two things. One is a environment.ts file and another is your environment.prod.ts file. So environment.ts is the common level environment file, and in production version it is actually uh, it will actually point to the environment.prod.ts file. Okay, now we will set up development and SIT environment files over here. So let me just add those files. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. So I will add another file. I'll just copy paste everything from here to go and create a new file, environment dot, that will be development dot ts. Similarly, I will create another file, environment dot, that will be sit dot ts. Okay, so you can see environment.ts and development.ts, production.ts and sit.ts has been created. Now you can see that here production is false. Okay, so in development environment, I will just create similarly just like this. I will create one class, export const. If you know JavaScript, you can easily recognize my my naming conventions and all. Okay, environment equal to this one. I will create one object. All right, pro production as, okay, do one thing. I will do one thing. I will copy paste everything from here. Okay, so it will be a little bit more easier for us not to write, so that might not have any spelling mistake. Okay, as it's not a production file, I will make it as false, and I will write my naming convention like environment name. Let's write it like this, and it should be pointing towards development. Okay, now the same way I will create another one. So in SIT I'll go and I'll write the same thing, and in production I'll write it to the same thing only what was there, and that would be your production. That would be your pro. Okay, now once this things gets done, I will come here and I will write my local, my common environment setting, in my common environment setting as environment name as local. let's say let's say it as local, so that you would be able to understand it. Okay, now I have created all the environment files in Angular. Now I will go to the app settings, the TS files for the Angular application. So here you can see that there is one app module.ts, and here I will have app.component.ts and app.component.html. So Angular is a component-based architecture, so it follows MVC as well as component-based architecture. So every HTML has been divided into a set of components. So it's a single page, but it will create an illusion of different pages because of Angular routing. But mostly it is a single page and it will directly point to this index.html only, and here you can see that it will be pointing to the root uh, root file. Okay, so if you will go to this component, you can see that one is the selector, where is the app root, and it is pointing to this file. Okay, so I will just do something like this if possible. I'll create one setup over here and I will name it as, okay, I'll name it as client env name. Okay, this one will be string type. And one of the advantage of TypeScript is it's a superset of JavaScript. So you will get all the feature of JavaScript as well as you will get the TypeScript's features, like you can assign the types just like this string or anything. Okay, so that it can be handy to work on environment. Okay, I'll just add these things here. Environment dot env name. Okay, now there will be another server environment name. I will go through this thing later when we will be dealing with the .NET Core Web API. Okay, now first of all I will just create this thing, and I will go to the app.component.html. Here I'll just write something like this. Okay, so what exactly I'm doing is I'm pointing to my client environment name and server environment name, and right now I am not implemented the server environment name, so I have written like yet to come from server. Okay, now I'll just save these things. Okay, let's build the application first. Okay, let's build the application so that we can see what kind of things I'm getting into. Okay, so whenever you are running the application, make sure that you should install the npm, uh, and you should install all the packages by using npm space install. Okay, I'm just directly running it. Let's see what kind of thing I'm getting into. Okay, just let's wait. Now you can see, I'll just load these things. Let's wait. You can see that client side environment name is coming as local. Okay, and server side environment name is yet to come to the server. Why this is local? If I'll go here, uh, I have told you that this environment file will be changed with respect to the environment configurations. Now, by default, this will only collect these things. Okay, until and unless I give some configuration values in the argument list of here. Okay, now you can see that it is environment name local. If I will make it as control C, I'll make it as ng npm run c production. Okay, let's see what comes. If I have written the spellings right. Okay, I have not written the spellings right. Okay, If you can see here in angular.json file, okay, here if you will see there are only one configuration setup is happening in the build. Okay, you can see that production, when I'm writing production, it will go and it will replace this file and it will replace the common environment file with environment.prod.ts. Similarly, we can create for uh, development as well as SIT. Okay, we will do those things. Now coming up to here, just let me paste everything from here to copy paste. Okay, so I'll just delete these things in development. We don't need that. We don't need these things. We need just development. Okay, once this thing gets complete, I'll just make sure that this one will be pointing to the development branch. Okay, now similarly I need another, and that one is for SIT. Correct. Now I'll go for creating it SIT, and this one will be SIT. Okay, now I have written for the build. Okay, now I have to write it for the serve or for the runtime. Okay, so in runtime you can see that I only have one single thing. I'll just copy this and I will create for development as well as SIT. Okay, now this one will be development. This one will be SIT, and this one should point to the build of development. This will go from here to here and replace these files. Okay, now in SIT, if I'll go, I'll have to just point it to the SIT branch. Now angular.json file also got created properly. Okay, now I will just run these things so that I will see that whether I'm just collecting the proper branches or not. Okay, ng serve, then C. In configuration I will just pass development. Let's see what comes. Now you can see that project compilation got complete. I will just see what kind of things is coming. So if you will see, this is pointing to the development. Okay, and server side I have not written it till now, so it is pointing to the development branch. So that means I'll just cross check again so that if I can get the SIT branch and be serve. This is a common shortcut for configuration -C, or you can write configurations over there. Now my configuration name is SIT. Let's wait and let's check what the environment value we will be getting it or not. Okay. Now for SIT also build got complete. We will check this thing by control key. Now you can see this is pointing to the SIT branch. Okay. Hope you have understood all these things. Now I will just move all this file to the dev branch first. Okay, to the origin dev branch. If I'll go to my GitHub, you can see what kind of changes I have made. I have made in angular.js. All these things has to be passed to the dev branch. Then I will merge it to the SIT and master branch. Okay. So this video might get little bit long, so that I will explain it properly to you, to every beginners to advanced level people, so that they might be able to apply these things in their day-to-day lives. So I'll just add some commit over here. So add nv files in client side code. Okay, I'll just commit this. Once all these things gets committed, I will just push everything to my origin/dev. Now coming up to the Visual Studio, let's hope that everything got changed over here as well. So why I am using Visual Studio Code for UI development is it gives lots of extensions so that my UI development can be a little bit easier. I can write the sample code and save it also so that I can use those things later by using shorthands. Okay, so for API development, I will always going to use Visual Studio. So if you can see in dev environment, I'll just go to the section of boards, repos. You can go to files. This one is pointing to master. I'll just pointing to dev environment. Let's see if things gets published over here or not. Client. Now I'll go to source. You can see environment and here you can see the changes. And you can see that there is just I just updated the dev environment. Okay. Now I will just merge all these things to my SIT and master branch. I'm just checking out my SIT branch right now. So there are two type of merging techs we use. So you can either go for different branches or you can create just one branch and you can just push all those codes to the master branch and you can have multiple environments. So both are pretty much good. You can use it with respect to your project requirement and don't worry about all these things. Now if I'll go to Team Explorer, branches, I'll just merge it from dev branch. Okay. Now I am merging it from dev branch and similarly I will do it for master branch. Okay. Now merge got completed. I'll just push everything. Hopefully there will be no errors. Okay, successfully pushed everything. Now I'll come to my master branch. I'll merge these things from SIT branch. Okay. Now merging got complete. Now I'll push everything to the my uh, original Azure DevOps branch. Okay. Now everything got synced. Now I'll come back to my development branch. Okay. Now the Angular part got complete. Now I will go for the web API part. So now we will go for the web API. So I have already in my earlier videos, I have already created how to build CI/CD pipelines for .NET Core Web API. So if you have not watched those video, you can watch it here, or otherwise you can go there and watch those things. It will be easier for you because those things has to be here as well. So I'll just go for app settings.json. So over here you can see these things and I will create uh, for us. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, Control C. Now I'll create everything from here. I'll just delete this. Okay, now I don't have anything except my common app settings.json. I'll go here and I will just build those things, create a new item. It will be a JSON file. So just type this here. This one will be development.json. Similarly, I will have SIT and production. I'll have another like this. site.json. Then I will have production, new item, okay. Now once this thing gets complete, what I will do is I will create one values controller. So you can see these things has been completed. Okay, now I'll just type something over here so that I can extract these things. In app settings dot development dot JSON, I will write this thing, and here there will be a name which is pointing to the development. Okay, now the same thing will be here as well. I'll point this thing to production, and the same thing I will do it for SIT as well. SIT. Okay, now these things get complete. Now in app settings dot normal app settings dot JSON, I'll have one config environment name file. Okay, here I can go here, write config environment name. This one should be my local. Okay, just like we have a common environment.ts file in Angular, we have a app settings.json in our web API. So once this thing gets done, I'll create one controller. You can add, you can go to here, you can add a new item, and that one will be a controller class. You can just start over here, controller. Now MVC with read write action should be fine for us. And the name I will write it like values. Okay. Now once that thing gets done, I can do one thing. Just remove this. I'll do a API level controller. It would be fine, not MVC. New item, API controller with read and write actions. Okay. Now once this thing gets done, I'll just write my code to get the app settings. Okay, you can go here, you can write your own things. HTTP get, I am using HTTP get. Now I'm routing the I'm writing the route path. Route path would be get app settings. Now I'll write the method public async task. This will give us a string value. Okay, now get app settings where app settings equal to your config of name, the return settings. Okay, now this configuration would be coming from your constructor by using dependency injection. So I have to write a constructor over here, ctor tab. Okay, now this should point to the I configuration signature. I'll just add the using statement. Once this thing gets done, I'll write it like configuration. Okay, and I will create a private field for this, and I'll write it like config, and this one will be your config, and this one will be the configuration from name. Now you can see that I am not actually going to here and using this config environment name. Rather, I am going to this files and I am going to this name. Okay. Now value controller got complete. Now I will come back to the startup file. Sorry, to the program.cs file. Here I have to create the configuration builder so that I can get the app settings.json with respect to the environment in the runtime. Okay. Now I am not going much deep over it because I have already discussed these things in my earlier videos. I will just post it in the description so that you can refer those videos as well. Okay, so I'm just copy paste all those things from there to here. Let's see. Okay, once this thing gets done, I'll create my host over here. Okay, now what you can see is I have actually created one environment name called a string environment name, and this environment name is pointing to the config environment name, which is actually in the common app settings.json. Okay, here. Now if there is something, it will take, otherwise it will take from the it will take the default value as development. Okay, now here I'm just building the app settings.json. I'm just injecting everything from app settings.json in runtime. Okay, once this thing gets done, I'll just make it as my startup project. Okay, now I will check whether my API is working fine or not. Let's wait. It's getting build. Oh, I have not used the F5 button. It's getting build. Let's wait. So you can see I have opened the Postman application. It's a API application so that you can hit the API and you can test it. So I have created the API routing path over here, and if I will just use send, you can see that it is coming to the development only. So if I will go here, I can just have a breakpoint so that you will be able to understand it is going there or not. So you can see it is coming here and it is collecting the values from the development environment app settings. Okay, from here, because there is no name key in the local environment, local app settings environment, common app settings environment. Okay, here it's config environment name. As it is pointing to the development, it is taking the files from here and it is injecting it and it is sending us back. Okay, now what we will do in CI/CD pipeline, you can just assume over here we have to change this configuration name in the CI/CD pipelines. Okay, so once this thing gets done, I will just I will just push all these things to the respective branches, and I will merge it, and then I will show you how to integrate all these things to the Angular web along with the Angular UI. Okay. So now I have already merged everything to my development branch, all the changes as well as my SIT branch and my master branch. Okay, right now I will create one service layer in the UI side so that I can interact with the API and I can get things from there. Okay, we will go from that part. Let me create the service. So it's a design pattern. It's not a design pattern, it's a convention we follow when we will create the service, it should be in the share folders because it can be used by others as well. So in source I will create one folder, new folder. That one would be share, naming convention is share. Once this thing gets done, I will create another folder over here. That one would be API service. Once that thing gets complete, I will create one sample.service.tl file, sample.service.ts file. Okay, now that gets complete. Now I will write the code which will collect the things and display it in your UI. So I'm writing it by copy pasting it because I don't want to waste time, so that I can go back how to show all these things in CI/CD more. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm just collecting it from my base URL, get app settings, and I'm writing the response type as text as JSON so that it can convert the text to JSON file, and it's an observable. So if someone has worked on the Angular, they know how the observable works. Okay, I have created the service. Now I will try to consume it in my TS file. Okay, so I have injected in my root label, and I will go to my app.ts file, app component.ts. If you can see, I'll just write the code in export class. I'll create the constructor. Similarly, I'll not add anything in constructor. Constructor would be private. I'll just inject, just like our dependency injection in .NET Core. I will write it same thing over here, sample service. Okay, now it will inject this thing, and once this thing gets complete, I'll write implements ng on in it over here. This comes with a interface level method, and here I will write to fetch the data this dot sample service dot get app settings, and I will just subscribe this, and inside the subscription I will write to fetch the value string, and this will be used to inject this dot. I already have an property over here. I'll just copy this thing and paste it, and I will write it as value. Okay, once this thing gets done, there might be possibility that I can get some error. For that I will write the code, error any, and I will just print it in the console log so that it will be easier to see. Console dot log, this one will be okay. I can make it as error. It looks good. Now I'll just run the applications once, and I will see whether this thing is coming from the .NET Core Web API or not. Okay, now I'll just build the application. Let's wait. If everything goes right, it will come. Let's see. The application got built. We will check. Now you can see that application is loading. Let's wait. Now, as you can see over here, that the client side environment is pointing to the local, and but we are fetching all the details from the server side environment. Okay. Now, why this is pointing to the local? Because I have not built the applications from the scratch. Okay, so that's the main important thing in the Visual Studio boilerplate code. We have to tweak or we have to implement something in the .cs project. Okay, so if you can see, I'll show you why it is coming as local. So if you can see this .cs project, you see here after the publish gets done, after the build artifacts gets done, it will execute this scripts so that Angular project will be built. So you can see that it is directly pointing to the prod. Okay. Now once it is directly pointing to the prod, it will directly point to the current local branch. Correct. So we really don't need these things. We really need with respect to our environment setup. Just like if we are passing development, it should get us development, and if we are passing something called as SIT, it should give us SIT. So how to do that? That's the most important thing to do. How to do that? Let's get over here. You can see this property group over here. It is just like the arguments we are passing in the methods. Okay, suppose I have a main method and I want to pass some arguments inside it. I'll be writing main, I will be writing like this, right? So if I'll show you how to write, I can write it like main. Now this one will be my function, this one will be my variables, some name, some env name and all. Okay, and this one will be my functions definitions. Just like that, to pass something in the command prompt, we will be using this property group. Okay, so now we will be passing the client environment name from here. If you can see, I'll write another property group, client env name. Let's just copy paste this thing. Gets done. You will be able to see. Okay. Now I have write it and I have made a default value. Suppose I am not giving it something, it will just take this default value. Okay. Once this thing gets done, I'll just come here and I will just make it as to write the configuration build over here. Hyphen hyphen. This one will be configuration equal to whatever the value coming from there. Okay, now I'll take it from here. This one will be client environment name. I'll just write it like this, client environment name, and the similar thing will come over here. I'll just copy the entire thing from here to here. Okay, once this thing gets done, I'll just push all the code to my other branches. Okay, now go to the team explorer, go to changes. You can see the changes. I will add services and change the .cs project. Now I'll just push it. And the same way I will just merge it with my SIT and master branch. Let me just merge and let you know. So I have already merged all these things. If you will see over here in the Azure DevOps, I can share it with you that there is three branches, dev, SIT and master. You can see that my latest changes has been published to dev. Then my SIT also got synced, and my master also hopefully got synced. Yeah, this all these things got synced. Okay, now I already in my Azure portal I have two applications. I am not going for the third application for production because it will be a little bit costlier for me as well. So to show you the demo, I have created one for development and another is for SIT. Now we will go for the CI/CD pipeline so that we can push the development branch to the development web app and the SIT branch to the SIT web app. Now if we'll go to here, go to the pipelines. Okay, once you go to the pipeline, you can create one pipeline. Over here, go to pipeline, go to the classic editor. Okay, now go to your Azure DevOps repo. Yeah, you can select it. This one is for dev. You can select the dev branch. Now just select to continue. Okay, now you can go for the empty job or you can go for the .NET Core build. That would be most probably better option for us. Okay, now I am going for the .NET Core build. Over here it will give me some template and we can manipulate over those things. Okay, now once this things gets done, I'll just name this pipeline as our sample project YouTube, and this one will be our dev branch and this one will be our CI, common continuous integration pipeline. Now the agent specification, I will change it to Visual Studio 2016. Okay, now CS project would be fine. This can be fine, or you can just give your CS project name, whatever the CS project name you have. If you'll go to the Visual Studio, you have a CS project known as YouTube sample Angular.NET Core CS project. Okay, you can go over here. Okay, now if I'll go to this area in .NET Restore, I will restore all the NuGet packages. Okay, to my CS project. You can give the if you are comfortable, you can give your name over here. Now in build, I have to just set up with respect to our variables. Now go to this variable section first. First create one variable over here known as build. We can name it as build client environment. Okay. Once the build client environment got complete, I can just set it as dev. Okay, as it's a development branch, I can set it up like this development. Okay, now do I need to just change it with respect to development CD? It's fine. Now go to the task, go to the build again. Now here I am trying to build the application. Okay, now what application I will build, I can specify it over here. Now configurations, build configurations is coming as release from the variables. Just similarly, I'll write to get the property, whatever the property name I have. If I go to here, I can see that I have the client environment property name. I'll just copy this thing and I will just pass it over here and I will point this thing as dollar whatever the build client environment name I have. So I'll go over here, I will copy this, come to my task, build, here I'll just paste it. Okay, now once this thing gets done, I'll just cross check everything. Test, we don't need test, we can disable it for now. Now go to the publish section. In publish section as well, we'll be using the exactly same name. So I'll just copy this thing, from here. So what exactly we are doing is this will go, and in the .cs project this build client environment name will be get replaced. Okay, once this build environment name gets replaced, the .NET Core Web API as well as the Angular project both will point to its own environment files. Now I want to publish the artifacts. Now, artifact's name is drop, it's fine. Everything looks good. Okay, I just save it. Okay, I'm saving it. CI pipeline for dev branch. Okay, I'm just trying to run it and let's see if everything goes right, then it will be able to run it. Okay, we will check. My bad. I'll just reload all these things. Let's see what happens. This got saved. If I will go to the pipeline, it should trigger something and I will just check that whether build got succeeded or not. Okay, let's just wait and see what all the progress is going on. Now .NET Core is getting restored. Now after that build will be progressed. Just wait for it. Now build is going on. Build got completed. You can see over here. So in publish section, let's wait for this publish thing gets to be complete. Okay, once this thing gets complete, I can show you how the .cs project label is getting replaced. Okay, now you can see npm scripts is also going on, and you can see that ng build goes on and it is showing us to the configuration equal to development. Okay, now I'm assuming that everything looks good till now. We will go for the CD level pipeline. Until this thing gets done, we will go for to create a release pipeline. If you can see, we can go for a release pipeline, and this should be Azure App Service deployment. Okay, now in artifact, I can go and I can select my source. My source will be dev1, and I can just have the default version as latest version. Okay, now CD pipeline got completed in here, and I can select this stage. I can name it as development or dev. That's fine. Now go to the job. Now if I'll go to my job, you can see there are two tasks I will do. One is I will change the app settings.json. So in here, I'll just add something like this. File transform. Is it coming? Yes. And this has to be done before the publish. Okay, now here I'll just come and I'll just check the run agent. The run agent is looking good. VS 2017 Win 2016, and this is pointing to the dev CI artifacts. Okay, this looks good. Now coming up to the file transform. What file I want to transform? I can come over here. I can select the file format. File format is JSON type. Target file I will choose. I'll choose the target file as app settings.json. Okay, once that thing gets done, what I will do is I will create one variable over here. In variable, I will write it like this, whatever the naming convention I have followed over there. So I have followed it like config environment name. This one would be your development. Okay. Now scope is release. It looks good. Your scope should be, this one should be for the dev only. I'm making it as dev. Now coming up to the task, this got complete. Now I'm going to the deployment. Okay. Now in deployment, I will choose my subscriptions. Now if I'll go to this Azure subscription, just give us a minute. Now you can see, if I'll go to here, app service name is right, fine. I have just created one Azure Resource Manager subscription and I have a deployment dev subscription. It is coming under here. So how this thing will achieve, if you will go here in dev branch, you can just select over here and you can select the app service name, and I'm using the demo POC web app dev. Now I will come back to the file transform. File transform looks good. Now I'm coming to the here. Now the path is looking good. Okay. Now if I'll go to the file transform options, I do not need anything because I am using my own file transform. Okay, other things looks good. Okay. Now if hopefully it looks good, I'll create this thing and I'll add the CD pipeline for development dev branch. Okay, once the comments gets done, I'll just add it and I will just create a release and let's see if everything goes right or not. Okay, now stages for trigger to change the automate from automated to manual. I can choose dev. Okay, or we can choose it later as well if it's fine. For now I'll choose it and create the release. Once this thing gets done, I'll go to the logs and wait, and how the things going on we can see over here. Okay, now deployment started. I'll see now getting one error that I am not able to get the package found. Now I'll go to the pipeline again. We will see why it's okay. I have not maintained the artifacts over here. So if you can go to here in the release pipeline, here options, you have to add the artifacts. Okay, just edit this, edit pipeline. Just let's wait. Now I'll add the artifact. I have forgot to add it, I guess. Now I am adding it. Latest version I will take. I will add it. Okay, once this thing gets done, I'll create, everything looks good. I will just save it. Okay, I'll try to create a release and let's see what happens. Now the release 2 has been created and it's been queued. So hopefully we will be able to see all the deployments over here. Now deployment has been started. Okay, the artifacts is getting downloaded. Now deploy to Azure App Service. Now file transform got succeeded. We can see what has been changed over here. If you will see, there is app settings.json file, and the variable we are changing, it should be here somewhere. We have to write it. Okay, I think I have forgotten those things as well. I can see that thing. Let's see if I have the variables over here or not. Okay, I don't have any variable. I will create that one. I'm not sure. I have saved it, I guess. It's been due to unsafe changes, it got removed, I think. So I'll create the variable name just from my Visual Studio Code. What is the variable name I have? App settings.json. It's the config environment name. I'll go for here and I will make it as develop. And okay, now release version will be dev. It looks good. I'll save it and I will create again another release pipeline, and I will check whether the variable got replaced and the build got succeeded or not. Okay, so if you can go to release, you can see that this build got succeeded, but we have unable to replace the app settings.json file. Now we will see the logs. So it's a good habit to go and see the logs so that you will be able to see what kind of environment file got replaced, what kind of value got replaced or not. Okay, now artifacts is being downloaded. We will wait for the file transform. Now file transform got complete. We'll go here. So app settings.json is looking good. I want to just see. Okay, here substituting the value on key config environment variable with development. Okay, now this thing got completed. Now we can go to the portal. This one is my portal. I'm going to the development web app. Now I'll collect the web app details over here, copy, and I'm pasting it over here. Just let me give me some time. Hopefully, if everything goes well, we might get everything right. Okay, you can see that client side environment name is development, as well as server side environment is also development. Now coming back to here, I can create the same thing for SIT, just like your dev. Create another pipeline. Okay, use classic editor and choose the repo for it. This one would be pointing to SIT branch. Continue. Then I will go for .NET Core build. Okay, now restore is looking good. I'll just see the. I'll just change it to VS 2016. Now build, in build I'll just, it's the same way, I'll just create it from the development branch. I'll just duplicate it and copy paste everything from the development branch. Just only we need to change the environmental settings. That's it. Now create, if you can see these pipelines, I want to leave it. I want to just go to this, edit it. So in build we have this thing. I'll just copy, and here I will just paste it. This one will be my build client environment. Here in variables, I think my internet got slow. So yeah, so it came. Now I can make it as this, and I will make it as a site. Okay, now once this thing gets done, hopefully I don't need a test, so I'll disable it right now because I don't have any test project. This looks good. Now go to the publish. Now in publish you have to collect it from here. Same thing, only we need to go for publish. I have created the same thing. Now you can see that client environment name is coming from the variables and it is pointing to the SIT. Now drop path is looking good. Now I will just save and queue. Just add it as SIT CI pipeline. Okay. Once this thing gets done, we will just see. Oh my bad again. Let's see if the build pipeline got triggered or not for the SIT branch. Hopefully it should get triggered and we will see the changes. Now it is getting triggered. We will just wait for this. You can go to here and you can see the agent jobs. Okay, restoring is getting done. Now in the build part we will see, in the publish part we will see whether it is pointing to SIT or whether it is pointing to development branch. We will just wait. Okay, in the publish section we can see now DLLs are coming up. Now we should wait for the Angular build. Now you can see that the ng build is pointing to the configuration SIT. So hopefully now the Angular is being built on SIT. Okay, once this thing gets done, artifacts will be published. I'll go to the release and I will create the release pipeline for the SIT, just like our dev. Give us a minute. Okay, now I will create the release for SIT. New release pipeline. Okay, I will do one thing. I will just clone this thing and I will just change the naming conventions. It would be probably the better idea. Okay, I have cloned it, so everything looks good. Here I will just have to change it to just, I'll be deleting it and I will be changing it to SIT. Oh, I have not changed the naming convention over here, but you can assume that this one is the SIT. Okay. Now, once this thing gets done, I will just make it as SIT. Now I have two jobs, and in variable I have to change this thing to SIT, and I have to change this scope to SIT. Okay, fine. Now coming up to the pipeline, Jobs, file transform is looking good. Deployment has to be other thing. I'll come over here and I will change this to SIT. Okay, once this things gets done, hopefully if the build has been made, I can trigger the release pipeline as well. I will just check to my pipeline and this got completed. Build got completed. I'll just have to save it. SIT pipeline. Okay. Now I will just create the release description I don't need, and let's see if everything goes fine. It will point, both the client side and the server side will point to the SIT branch. Now it's been queued. Let's wait. Now coming up to the logs, you can see the agent got run. Now in file transform, we should most probably see the configuration file has to change to this SIT. Yes, this got changed to SIT branch. Okay, now close it. Now deployment is going on. I'll just copy this thing and most probably this one should be SIT branch. Let's hope this one is SIT. Okay, now I'll just come over here. This got succeed. Deployment got succeed. Then I will just click it to point it to SIT. The application is loading. Now you can see the client side code is pointing to the SIT environment, as well as the server side code is also pointing to the SIT environment. In this way, you can go for the production branch, which is the master branch, and you can deploy it like this as well. And if you want to go for creating continuous integrations, you can go to the pipeline. You can choose your pipeline, and in pipeline go to edit. Okay, you will have it trigger options over here. So go to this trigger. You can choose enable continuous integrations and it will show you which path, by which path you want to trigger it. Now save it and queue it. The same way you can go to release. Okay, you can go to the SIT or dev any branch. You can just edit it and you can just trigger this deployment by whenever a new trigger is being created in the build level environment, in the build pipeline. Okay, you just need to enable it. And if you want to branch filter also, you can add it over here. You can create the build branch, whether it's dev or SIT or master, you can create it and it will be a complete CI/CD pipeline for you for Angular and .NET Core Web API. Why I have not discussed this thing over here, because this video is getting long and I have already discussed it in creating CI/CD pipeline for .NET Core Web API. I will add the link over the description. You can go over there and you can watch those sections as well. Thanks for your love and support. Please keep like, share, and do subscribe. Thank you. Thanks very much.